lots of things happening in Armenia, and not very many of them are good. We'll talk about it on today's Hot Zone.
This is the Hot Zone. Engaging with the news in a whole new way, international war correspondent Chuck Holton brings insight into areas of crisis and lets you help those affected.
Hey folks, Chuck Holton here. I wanted to give you an update on Armenia for several reasons. First of all, because I'm trying to put together a project to make a full-length documentary, like a 1-hour documentary about the crisis in Armenia. It's that big a deal. These are Christian brothers and sisters who are facing an existential threat in Armenia and in Artsakh, the Nagorno-Karabakh region, which, as I've described before, is kind of an exclave of Armenia. This was done at the end of the Soviet Union. Back during the Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin didn't like having too many of one group of people in any particular place because then they could band together and rise up. And so he forcibly moved people around, sort of scrambled the cultures of those areas. And the people of Artsakh are virtually all Armenian. And they have, as you know, been under fire from Azerbaijan, which is 99% Muslim, since September 27th. And the Azeris, basically their whole tactic was just to bomb and shell the villages and towns inside Artsakh and force the people to flee. And once they fled, they would just move right in and take over without a fight. The Armenian military did fight, and it fought valiantly, but frankly, it was losing the war. And the president or the prime minister of Armenia knew that. They made a deal. It's a tripartite agreement, they call it, between the Russians and the Azeris and Armenia that essentially cedes Artsakh back to Azerbaijan, the vast portions of it. There's still a very small area that is still considered to be Artsakh, where the Armenians are now returning and getting back to their way of life without the shelling. That's a good thing. But in reality, there are so many people who have been driven from their homes who know that they will likely never return. As a matter of fact, here's a little bit of video from just a couple days ago, I think last Monday, of some men digging up one of their relatives, and they were bringing him with them back into Armenia because they knew that, number one, they probably would never be able to come back and visit the graves of their ancestors. Number two, the Azeris are known for demolishing cemeteries, plowing them over, desecrating them. And so they didn't want that to happen to their relatives and loved ones. And so they actually went to the trouble of digging up Uncle Harry or whatever and carting him off back to Armenia. Now, one other thing that we've seen a lot of in the last few weeks as this truce or ceasefire has taken hold is that the people who knew they would not be returning to their homes decided, if I can't live here, then nobody can live here. And they started burning their homes. They felt like they had no choice. Many of them packed up whatever belongings they could carry, and what was left, they just put a torch to. And just imagine the sadness of the place where you live right now, the place you called home, your childhood home, of knowing that your enemy was about to come in and would be moving in and living in your childhood home, and you would never get to see it again. You might make the same choice. And it's really hard for Americans to fathom that kind of desperation because it's very rare that Americans ever face anything like that.
О, это, куда везу, я не знаю. Я же строитель, вот этот лестницу строил, балкон, это.
These people are really hurting. There's still quite a few tens and hundreds of thousands who are displaced, who may never be able to go back to their homeland. They had to move all of the relics out of some of the monasteries in the area that they had to cede back control of to Azerbaijan, because the Azeris are not going to respect Christian monasteries or churches or anything like that. So many people flocked to some of these monasteries to pray one last time and then collect up the paintings and the tapestries and whatever they could get, even some of the very heavy carved stones, the stelae they're very, very common in Armenia. I was fascinated by all of those. They all have some meaning to them. They're all very intricately carved out of stone, and some of them are absolute masterpieces, just works of art. So, the United States has not done a lot to support the Armenians, and that's a real tragedy. It's a real lost opportunity, I think, on the part of the Trump administration, because with so many, a couple million Armenians living in the United States, he could have probably garnered a lot of votes by standing up for Armenia, but he failed to do that. And this Democratic senator, I think from New Jersey, actually did stand up on the floor of the Senate and gave a fiery speech in support of the Armenians. And I want to play for you some of those excerpts now, because he made some very good points. And I think that if we had seen, like I say, more support from the U.S. government, maybe we wouldn't see Armenia in such a desperate situation now. I don't know what the incoming administration might do in regards to Armenia. I guess that remains to be seen. But for now, take a look at what this senator from New Jersey had to say about it.
Madam President, I come to the floor today in solidarity with ethnic Armenians all over the world who have experienced terrible losses in recent weeks. This is a tragic moment for Armenians everywhere. Words cannot describe the devastation inflicted on the region by Azerbaijani President Aliyev, with the full support of President Erdogan of Turkey. Thousands of ethnic Armenian civilians and soldiers have lost their lives due to Azerbaijan's aggression, with an unknown number more injured. More than half of the population has been driven from their longtime homes. Every day, more are forced to leave. It did not have to be this way. American leadership could have averted much of this tragedy. Madam President, we now have a trio of authoritarians running the show in the Southern Caucasus. It should alarm anyone dedicated to a peaceful solution of this long outstanding conflict. It should alarm anyone dedicated to democratic reform in the region. It should alarm anyone concerned about basic human rights and respect for international law. We in the United States should be concerned about national security issues that would affect us in the Caucasus. So my colleagues, we are witnessing the return of great power politics in this critical region. And yet, the world's sole superpower is conspicuously absent. This needs to change. Turkey's aggression in this conflict must be addressed. President Erdogan clearly aspires to be a modern-day Ottoman Sultan, putting down stakes in Libya, in Syria, across the eastern Mediterranean, and now in the southern Caucasus. Under Erdogan, Turkey has engaged in unbridled aggression outside of its borders, in violation of NATO's founding principles and international norms.
Okay, folks, as we speak, Russian peacekeepers are moving into the Nagorno-Karabakh region. They're taking up blocking positions, they're stopping traffic, and they're supposed to be keeping an eye on things for 5 years to sort of settle the tensions there. Now, what happens after those 5 years? Anybody's guess. As we know, Azerbaijan has designs not just on the Nagorno-Karabakh and the remaining part that they don't yet control, but they also have designs on Armenia itself. They have said, in public, that they would love to wipe out Armenia, wipe it off the face of the earth, and take over the whole thing. So 5 years from now is not a long time for Armenia to prepare. And that's one reason that I want to put together this documentary. I think that if more people understood the situation there and the affinity that the Armenian people have for Americans and for America, that they are a true friend in that region, between Turkey and Azerbaijan, two people that are not friends, that I think that we could do a lot for our foreign policy in the Caucasus by standing with Armenia. And that's just my opinion. But so I'd like to make a documentary where we can get the story of Armenia out to more people and hopefully raise some support for the people that are still homeless in that area. So I'm Chuck Holton. Thanks for watching The Hot Zone. We'll have more about Armenia as I'm starting to plan a trip back there now. And if you're interested in going along with me, contact me, send me an email. Just send it to hotzoneholton@gmail.com. You can support our work by going to patreon.com/hotzone, or if you want to specifically support this documentary, you can go to givesendgo.com/Artsakh. That's givesendgo.com/ARTSAKH. So I hope you'll go there and support our project. If we can, we're almost there, just to that first threshold where we know we will have enough money to make a documentary. If we can raise all the money I'm trying to raise, we can make the documentary about Armenia. And I think that'd make a big difference for the people there. So thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.
The Hot Zone is produced by Amy Holton and Livefire Media. Copyright 2019.